Raging Cajuns are tourney bound. March Madness. They won last night over USA, or as everybody else knows, as the University of South Alabama. Game last night. You know what's interesting? The dichotomy of the audience watching and the players, especially down south. Like I remember when I went to the Texas game, how few African diversity in the crowd. No. And last night too, diversity in the crowd. No, not at all. It's just, you know, it's interesting. The people who watch and the people who are on the court. And yeah, I felt that in Texas. And it was interesting too, because I was talking, Hal's friend Don was saying how that there really was, I forget what he said, the percentage of even African-American students were at Texas Austin when he was there. And you looked around the crowd and it's kind of scary. And then you look out on the field and the majority of the players were African-American. And, you know, I just feel like, you know, I mean, people notice, people don't notice, people don't talk about it, people talk about it. But it just was something that, you know, struck me. Even last night watching a basketball game where, you know, I mean, you look at everybody in the team. Of course, white coach. And that's always bothered me. Too many men coaches in women's basketball and not enough coaches of color, diversity, anything. I mean, I don't mean anything. I mean, how lily white it is in coaching and how lily white it isn't on the court. Even NFL, you look at the sidelines, every coach, white. And it's like, it can't be all these coaches. These kids didn't grow up, you know, in certain areas where they had white coaches and everything. And now all of a sudden it's like that coach can't coach. And I read something too. There was something interesting. The president of the Washington Commanders, and he was on a podcast, and very interesting what he talked about. I want to see, do I have it here? Of course, the lack of belief in black intellect. Commanders president Jack Wright. He was on a podcast, on the Athletic podcast, Between the Lines, with, I forget who did, with Tashawn Reed. He said, the reality is there's a pervasive disbelief in our society in black intellect. You can run the ball, you can jump, you can sing, maybe dance, maybe do some art. Maybe you can even be an academic or an activist. But do we have the intellectual capacity to run a business or shape policy or things like that? There's a lack of belief there. Yeah. He said that at the end, with Doug Williams, the first African-American quarterback to win a Super Bowl. At the end of the day, it's all about ownership when it comes to the lack of diversity among those in leadership positions in the NFL. Regardless of what anybody says, regardless of what the NFL does, it's probably trying to get minorities in position. The bottom line is it rests with 32 people, basically. That's what he said, 32 people. He is the youngest president of the league and just the fourth player to take on the role. He, 7 years in the league, retired before the 2011 lockout, went to business school, went to work at the management consulting firm McKinsey & Company. Now he works on the business side, business operations, marketing, sales responsibilities for the team, rather than being involved in football operations, which I don't understand. You know, but I thought that was kind of interesting. Where, yeah, that, you know, like they didn't think a black could play quarterback. Warren Moon, MVP of the Rose Bowl at Washington, had to go play in the CFL and win 5 goddamn Grey Cups with the Edmonton Eskimos, and then he finally got a shot in the NFL. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. These guys can coach. Dawn Staley, you know, showed that, you know, it doesn't matter what, but she is a great coach. And there should be more opportunities out there. There should be more. I mean, D'Amico Ryans, you're telling me all these guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know, it's not working. You know, and, you know, people say, could say I'm too woke and all that stuff. I don't give a shit. Am I woke, or just like, you know, enough's enough? Just because this has been the norm all along doesn't mean it has to stay the norm going forward. Things got to change. We got to move forward. It's 2023. And I agree with that. I totally agree. So that, you know, the lack of belief in black intellect, it is. Yeah, it really is. You know, they're good enough to play on the court, but they're not good enough to coach. They're not good enough to run a team. LeBron wants to own a team. It'd be nice to have some diversity in the ownership. It's lily white everywhere. It's a bunch of rich white guys who are deciding what, you know, they put stuff on the NFL. They put on the field diversity. They put stuff on the helmets, all this shit. But is it on? Do we see the results in front offices, in coaching, in ownership? No, we do not. Not even close. And that should change. That has to change. So yeah, I saw that.